Okay, here's a quick video overview of the new CF500 nasal laser. So on the side, you can see there's a little switch. Down is in the off position, so then that'll make the screen inactive. Up will allow the buttons on the screen to become active. So a long hold will turn on the power and activate the screen. So then this little button here with the arrows in a circle, that's your mode button. So as you click through, and you can see it will highlight what you're working on. And this button at the bottom is for the time. Okay. So we'll go back to our mode button. So this top part is only if you're going to be using the pulse feature. For most treatments, we're not using the pulse feature. We are just using continuous wave. So we will not review that at the moment, but just going here, setting your power level. So it is simply the plus key to turn the power up. That's maximum. The minus key, turn the power down to minimum. So there really isn't like a low, medium, high setting. So one has to just take the first three we could call low, the next we could call medium, and the remaining would be high. So in the instructions, when it's referred to as low, medium, and high, there isn't a precise. So on this one, there are 10 power settings. Okay? So generally, once a person is accommodated to the laser after the first 4 or 5 treatments, high is going to be appropriate for most everybody. Some people might need to keep it a little bit lower than 10, but it's an individual case by case. The average person is going to be fine at full power for 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes twice a day, and that's a perfectly fine level of treatment. If that's not the case for any one individual, then you can modify by decreasing the power to a level that your system accommodates happily. So as you can see, the interface timed out, so a long press to bring it back. It starts off with the pulse setting, so we are going to ignore that. We're going to come down here, we'll leave it on medium power. Now it's going to come down to select our waveform, so we could use the minus key to go to the pulsed wave, or back to the continuous wave, which is the default setting. So again, for most people, we're going to leave it with that little circle more to the left. It has a little CW for continuous wave. And then once we're set, we turn it on. Now it's running. We can see that the time is counting down. And if I bring in the laser, we can see that the laser is on. So again, I have it kind of on the low medium, so it's not very bright. If I pause this treatment, go back in, turn my power up, and then restart this treatment, we can now see it is much brighter than it was previously. Okay? So we can tell that our laser is on. We have it set. It'll run for 30 minutes because that's the current time that I have set. And then it'll turn itself off. And then if left unattended for a minute, the whole device will power down. But the main power, if you wanted to turn it off, you would go here and turn it off. For the most part, you don't need to turn that switch off unless you're going to store the device for a long period of time, or if you're traveling with it, when the screen could get touched accidentally, then turning off the main power is a fine thing to do. So let's go back in. And so I'm going to stop this session, And then let's go into our time. So I could use the minus key to lower the time, plus key to add time. If I want to reset this, I turn it off all the way off, turn it back on, here, select the length of time that I want to have for my session, and then press start, and you can see it's come back on the medium setting, which is the default. So it is true that each time that you restart the device, you will need to enter your settings for that protocol. It always goes back to its default settings. So I'm going to come back in, I'm going to stop this, turn it all the way off, restart, come to power, turn my power all the way up, come to time, it's on 30 minutes, that's what I want. I'm defaults to continuous wave, so I don't really need to do anything there. Press the power button, and you can see the laser is on. So once again, I will turn it all the way off. Bring it on. If I'm going to do my regular treatment of 30 minutes on high power, all I need to do is select the power, turn it up, and start the device. So the preset of 30 minutes continuous wave are default settings, so not much to be done when you're using it on high power for 30 minutes, which is the standard treatment. So now let's take a look at the pulse setting. So again, we'll make sure our main power is on. Press hold till the device comes on. It defaults to starting with being able to set the pulse wave. So we can go ahead and okay, let's take a look at setting the pulse feature. So press and hold, comes on, one press to set the power. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that up to full power. One set here to select the continuous or pulse. So I'm going to move this over to where it says PW or pulse wave. One more press to activate the frequency, so it defaults to 500. So a long hold, we'll move it along quickly. So if we want to go to a common setting of 40, which I use for treating neurodegenerative conditions, so like my dementia clients would use 40 hertz. So now we're set at our 40 hertz 30 minutes on high power. So I'm going to start it. Now you don't really notice 40 hertz pulsing. You can see it a little bit there. The camera picks up the pulsing better than the naked eye does. But if we come back in, and I'm going to pause that, I'm going to go through my selection again to highlight that. We bring this down to something like 4, then it's much easier to see the pulse rate at a slower rate. But again, typically the only time you're going to be using a pulse wave is if the treatment is primarily directed towards brain activity and we're pulsing in the known brainwave frequencies of delta, theta, alpha, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, or gamma. Otherwise, we're going to be using continuous light for most of our photobiomodulation uses.